Anybody? Anybody have some fun this week? How about fun? Right? How was your open house, Connor? Connor, is that your first open house, right?
No.
Oh, that's right. You sat one in the valley.
But it was good to do it with somebody else, and it was I was there alone with the owners for a while. Nice experience. Like being in someone's house, you know.
Yeah.
It was good. It was great. The house is really cute.
But so you get to do it with Sabine.
What is it?
You get to do it with
Yeah, they
Sabine.
wanted 2 agents.
Excellent.
Everybody to walk through the house.
Yeah. It happens. Yeah. Well, the owners were there too. Don't worry about it. There's always something. They have.
She did that at the one, the big one. I'm like, she didn't invite herself.
Yeah, and to Charlotte's point, what Charlotte's whispering me is the safety issue. You know, it's good to have a second person there, especially in a big house. But even not so much in a big house, it's not a bad idea.
They seem to be like pretty nitpicky about their.
Yeah, and you will always find clients who are safety concerned about their things, especially when you sign the listing agreement. It releases us of all liabilities in those situations, which, you know, is important for us to have that protection. But we also want to do our best to thwart any issues that might come up. And, you know.
And if an issue does come up, they talk.
You mean amongst themselves, like?
No, I mean, I had a client who had listed a house with somebody who's very, very big agent in town.
Yeah.
And some of her stuff got stolen during an open house and she felt that the agent wasn't looking after her, and she will badmouth that agent to every person she comes across.
Yeah.
And this was 15 years ago.
Yeah, what happens is we fall into complacency, right? It doesn't usually happen, right? And it could not happen for someone's whole career, but then it does happen, right? And
Well, it takes one person. You have to
well,
do the open house.
absolutely, that does fall into account. And the thing, so, you know, we also have to educate our clients. Maybe we'll do a little bit about that risk management. In risk management, educate our clients to put small things away. Jewelry, you should lock up. Anything of value, you know, definitely you should lock up. People, the Matthew Perry story, right? People stealing pills, like going through the medicine cabinet and drawers, just looking for pills. That, you know, I mean, it's a real thing apparently, right? And that's probably less detectable than a lot of things. What's that?
She hides them from the kids too.
Yeah, well, of course. So apparently he was very interested in real estate. But great. I'm glad you had that experience. Anybody else tell me something good? Anybody, Maury, any pictures of your grandchild you'd like to share? He's coming out. He's coming out.
Doing it. Why do you do this meeting from Zoom?
Yeah, I know.
He's multitasking. You're creating an entrance. Oh, good. All right. Anybody else want to share something good before we move on? All right, let's move on. Okay. Tim's here poking me. Hey, we're closed on Monday. It's Labor Day. Who would have thought it would have come so soon? But it has, and we are closed, as is all the banks and all of the escrows. So, you know, take a day off. You're just figuring that out?
I'm just figuring it out.
Oh my. You still have space to learn. Tip number 23, if you are working late or alone in the office, always lock the doors. If you do encounter an individual while working alone, indicate to that person that you are not alone. So, you know, even when you're working late, everyone has a vibe to get into the office after hours. If you are here alone in the office, please be ultra aware, right? We do have cameras throughout the office, but please be, you know, ultra aware. The door does stay unlocked for a few minutes past entrance, right, Brian? What is it, like a minute or so? Okay, we'll find out that answer, but it does stay open for a second because.
Is there a posted anywhere for people that do work after hours, the SSA number?
if somebody needs to call security,
Yeah.
the local security
They're
company.
so helpful, even if you're just nervous.
They are, but I'd rather you call the police if you're
Well,
in
they come
danger. SSA comes faster? All right, well, Brian, let's get SSA's number posted up somewhere. I think that's a good idea. Thanks,
The
Charlotte.
Larchmont has a private security, but most of us in the neighborhood that live in the neighborhood hire them as well, but Larchmont has a private security company. They have 2 or 3 cars in the neighborhood, and if you're feeling unsafe, like, like there's a really scary looking possum on your roof or something, they show up within 2 minutes.
And I would go even a step further. If you feel uncomfortable walking to your car.
Yeah, they'll follow you.
And they'll follow.
They'll follow you to your car.
They're-
So
they're-
if
they're
it's 10
just-
o'clock at night and the restaurants are closed, it's a Tuesday, you can call SSA and say, I'm at Keller Williams Larchmont. If you do have a car in the neighborhood, if you wouldn't mind just kind of escorting me to my car. And they'll happily do it. They're lovely. They're all off-duty police officers and they're wonderful.
I've always found them to be really
They're great.
amenable to.
They actually called the Holmby Hills car for me because I felt unsafe in Beverly Hills after dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And that car escorted me.
Yeah, so it's a resource. Yeah, we'll post that up for sure. And you should take advantage of it. 24 is avoid public Wi-Fi. While free wireless networks are convenient in a pinch, they can also put you at a higher risk of hackers accessing your data sent over unprotected networks. Yeah, that happens. All right, here we go. Welcome, Alex. Alex is not here today, right? No, I don't see Alex here today, but welcome, Alex. That's a big name.
It is.
How would you go after that one, Tim?
Moreau de Bon Repos.
It's got a vibe.
Sounds
for
French.
sure. Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I
All
think.
right. So welcome, Alex, and also welcome, Lydia. Lydia is a what do they call that? A CPA that does like goes in and finds stuff. Investigative forensic CPA. There you go.
CPA.
Yeah, she is a
Wow.
forensic CPA. So if you cross collateralize, and Toya Nelson also joined yesterday. Welcome, Toya is not here, but welcome, Toya. Yeah, Marcello. It's Marcello, not in there.
And it is here. Yay!
Kimberly is, she's almost there. She's waiting for her license. Welcome to have you also. A lot of new faces and a lot of great additions to our little group here. All right, let's see what's happening this week. Family reunion, still get them while it's early. $7.99 Vegas, or is that correct, or is it $6.99? Who corrected me?
Tracy said it was $6.99.
So we're gonna get
Surprised
that.
I haven't gotten an email about it.
You haven't gotten an email about it?
No, I'm surprised. They send so many emails.
Yeah, they
I haven't seen
should.
it.
Yeah, I'm sure
don't know.
too. So
February 25th to 29th.
it's
What is this gold and platinum?
I've gotten.
It's
No,
where
I'm
you get
Christine.
invited to the
Get the
special
face.
lunches and dinners and you get a swag bag with a
Yeah,
bunch of
gift bags.
pamphlets in it. My guess is it's clear.
And yes, I could have brought you one back to back. Oh,
I have one.
there you go.
Plenty.
Okay.
But only the first 200 get the swag bag. So maybe there's something cool.
Color t-shirt. Christina, she's intrigued. Christina, highlight tomorrow, bowling, X-Lanes, LA, 5 to 7. We have a room, we have lanes, and
So we have a private room. We're hoping that at least 25 of you guys would like to participate in this event. It is our first office bowling night. Based on some of the feedbacks that we got, I thought that this would have a little bit more of a positive turnout than just drinking. There will still be drinking, but there'll be some activities too. So I hope you guys can all make it out there and, have a great office mix.
bowling and drinking can be fun.
Be careful of that release.
Oh, yeah, don't stand behind the bowler. All right, that's tomorrow, between 5 and 7. And so please, we need you to sign up on the eBay. Any other additionals in there? The morning show. It's a blast every day. Thank you, Lorna and Tracy, for always being there and hosting. I do my
Our
best to
pleasure.
keep the party going on Friday. But so proud of both of you for doing this every day, and the discipline and the dedication that it takes to do that.
Thank you, Joey, but thank you to everybody who participates because you make it very special. We learn something new every day, and it's just wonderful to really be there for each other.
It's an active real estate conversation, life conversation, motivation, inspiration, warm hugs for all. All right, agent training. What do we have? I guess we're all on Monday. So we have plan your future, and then spark your career, embrace your job, connect with your market. Oversimplification, the titles do not do it justice. Christy is an amazing teacher. That's a great job. Tech this week, setting goals, paid ads, new agent orientation, smart plans, and direct mailers. All great little tools for your business. At least he didn't add anything new. Let's see. Every Monday, 1 to 3, we are getting through it. Last week we did farming and had a great class. And we look forward to this week.
No,
Is it database this week?
Labor Day.
Oh, no, not the, I have off this week. Right, the following week, we will do another one. I think it's database. Today, Estates and Trust with Robert Theophanis. Right after this at 1 o'clock. Robert's going to do an Estates and Trust class. Amazing opportunity. You guys, anybody in this room, don't come and ask me about Estates and Trust.
Joey, is he going to do it by Zoom? I know Itati was trying to find out if that was possible.
Still haven't heard back from him.
So it's supposed to be in person,
It's supposed to be in person. We'll have a recording for sure.
but it's in person, so.
We'll have a recording at minimum, but you're just
Okay.
asking his permission to do it over Zoom? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, and I can't imagine that he would be against that. All right. MLS tips and tricks on September 5th. What day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, 2 to 3. This is an opportunity. It doesn't matter where you are in the process. The MLS is a tool that keeps growing, that is integral to our everyday life, right? And they keep adding little tips and tricks. Ethan, are you coming out to throw a little flavor on that, or? Okay. Tuesday, 2 to 3. You can also ask questions. If you have a request or looking to do something specifically, this is the place to do that. Oh, Raha, where are you, Raha? Come on, understanding the timeline of the contract. Tim just did a great class that laid it out in a linear way. So it was really great to see who's doing what when. Raha is going to be doing.
Next week, after the meeting, we're gonna go over the contract and kind of like understand how the days are counted, when your acceptance date is, and how you go about from there. So it's going to be in person because we're gonna do an activity. I encourage you to come so that we can all go through it together.
Activities involved.
Yeah,
Free pens.
sure.
We'll supply the pens. We'll supply the pens and the paper.
Whatever you guys want. I
Some
would-
crayons,
Yeah.
right? Is it a crayon thing?
There
No
could
crayon.
be.
Okay.
That it's able to come.
Okay. All right, perfect. So that is next Wednesday after the office meeting. Araha is going to deep dive on the contract and the timelines of the contract.
Can't wait to see you there.
I got the chills. All right, Ethan, I think this is you.
I'm coming to throw some flavor on this one.
All right, come on.
So KW likes to fire hose information at us, right, in training. And a lot of that training has been historically on my KW in the education tab, but they're moving things slowly over to Command so that everything's in one spot for you. So I just wanted to show you some of the cool on-demand trainings I have here in Command now. When you log into Command, Let me log in.
We love this inline training where you actually.
Well, I'm just going to show you how to navigate to the training. We're not going to go through all the training today. So once you're logged into Command, right over here in Connect, they have some cool on demand lead gen classes and command training. So you just click on it, it walks you through it. You can do it at your own pace. There's little modules and videos and activities for each module. So just something cool I wanted to show you guys.
Having, a self-guided education is really, really important. We have probably half of our 300 agents are in some form of transition and or use their license like a tool in the toolkit. So, coming to some of the in-person educations and some of the time live educations are difficult. This is a way for you to get access to information education. And then on the other side, that other 150 who are active and in, this is a way for you to develop a deeper understanding of the business and to see how other people are doing it, right? It's not magic, right? There is a path that others have taken, and then you can be creative on that path any way you like. Excellent, Ethan. Deep dive in there. You can spend hours. The way I always characterize it is like, Keller Williams has enough information. If you were in a desert island with just Wi-Fi that connected to KWRI, you could amuse yourself for quite a long time. Okay, core services. Andy, how's it going today?
Hi, it's going. Couple of things. I want to give a shout out to Miss Rachel. We are under contract on some folks. They were very persistent on a condo in Studio City. It was under contract. They kept circling back on it. It ended up falling out of escrow. We went under contract. We got everything done and cleared to close within 7 to 8 days. That includes the weekends, and got it cleared to close prior to them leaving on vacation. So we're cleared to close 7, 8 days in. We're not closing for 2 more weeks. So big shout out to Rachel. She was super diligent and persistent, and she got these guys this deal. So super happy for her. On another note, in terms of the market, keep your eyes on the jobs report. The Fed is really hanging their hat on the appearance of a strong economy, and by the basic job numbers that come out and the data that is coming out, it looks like jobs are growing. And the truth is that there's of course fine print to all of it. The largest sector of any sort of job growth is in part-time workers, right? The other piece that isn't being factored in is the cut down of hours for currently employed folks. There's also some very quiet layoffs and downsizing going on among very large companies like Adidas and IBM, et cetera. So keep your eyes on the job numbers. I know it's been rough. We all thought and speculated rates would come down in May with inflation. There's been some hiccups and bumps in the road that were completely unpredictable. All eyes are on the job market. So keep your eyes on that. The other thing I wanted to talk about and just sort of remind everybody, Movement has a jumbo program. You can also fit folks that are right near the jumbo loan limit into this program. Extremely aggressive. A traditional jumbo program is going to have specific actual trade line requirements, a minimum of a 720 credit score. You have to, of course, put 20% down. There's reserve requirements are the biggest factor. If somebody's putting 20% down, they may not have 6, 9, 12, or 24 months worth of reserve to meet the requirements of the bank. So Movement has a very special product. It's unique in the sense that we're underwriting these loans just like conventional loans. So folks that are self-employed, we all have clients that are in the entertainment business, for instance, that are potentially on strike, right? Self-employed clients, we can often get away with 1-year tax returns for one. We can go down to a 680 credit score. I've had jumbo loans. I just closed one, a almost $7 million loan, required 3 months of reserves. This can oftentimes be the make or break on whether somebody qualifies. So keep that in mind. And we're processing them very, very quickly, just like a conventional loan. I have one closing, we're closing 10 days early. So we're closing in 20 days on a jumbo loan. Keep that in mind. It's a great time, great opportunity to reach out for people for tax planning for next year, for instance. We're approaching the end of the year. Good idea to get things in place, especially if somebody needs some credit help or whatever. So just keep that in the back of your head. There's all kinds of options for everybody. So.
Can I ask Andy on that situation you just described, how crazy awful was the rate?
I will tell you, well, so, if we're comparing apples to apples, we are incredibly competitive because you're also talking about people that realistically just don't qualify for a standard traditional jumbo loan. So in terms of the rates, we're competitive on a standard jumbo level. If we're going to compare it to like a city product where somebody's got $1 million to park or is currently parked at city, we can't compete with that. The banks are scrambling to increase capital right now. So per usual, they're giving away the farm. I know that I had talked a couple months ago, maybe it was a month ago or two, about the new Basel regulation that is on the table to increase the capital reserve requirements for big banks. That is in order to level the playing field from a lending perspective with the banks and independent mortgage bankers like Movement. So to answer your question, the rates are market comparable to a jumbo loan.
I just don't know what that is. That was the question.
Let's just say somebody that has a 760 credit score, 20% down.
Yeah, you just described a scenario with this product. So, I mean, is it 7? Is it 7.5? Is it 8, 8.5? I'm just trying to get a sense of it.
Sure. A standard 30-year jumbo loan right now is pricing roughly at 7%.
Okay.
So if somebody has an extra $1 million and perfect credit at Citi, could they get potentially 6.25 or 6.375? Yeah, absolutely. This product is really just, yeah.
It was the product you were talking about. I mean, I know what Citi's rates are, so.
Yeah, we're just talking about regular.
I was just talking about
flow.
this special product you were talking about. I was just trying to see like what the markup was on it. You're saying there really isn't one, correct?
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, what I get out of, this is, I heard Andy talk in the meeting before this and what I hear and is lenders really want to lend, right? It's a function of them making money. And if they're not lending, then they're not making money. So loans seem to be easier to manage at this point, but it's just what to buy, right? Just got to put your clients in front of a property that's compelling to them that they're
What
willing
did
to do
Gary say? It's
7%.
always the right time to buy the right property.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Thanks, Andy.
Hey, Joey, it's Rachel.
Rachel.
Can I just piggyback on something real quickly now that we're talking about rates and whatnot? The client that Andy was describing that we're in escrow on, they were approved with Citi and they had a better rate because they had a lot of money at Citi. Citi, however, needs a 30-day escrow. Citi needs a 17-day loan contingency. For the property that we're in escrow on, it never would have worked if we had gone with Citi, and the buyers were leaning towards Citi because of the better rate. And thank God they had already been pre-approved as well with Andy, that I could say to them, guys, you're not going to get your dream home unless you work with Andy. And I think the rate was maybe a little bit higher, but big picture, they can just refi. So, that's the one thing I will say about Movement and working with Andy is having clear to close in 6-7 days when our clients are going to Alaska and I'm not going to have contact with them. It was a game changer. So this never would have happened if we had gone with Citi.
Well, congratulations, right? It's not always just the rate. right? It's the terms and the ability to lend. Yep, got it. Thanks, Rachel. And it's a team effort, right? You two are,
Oh,
you two make a team effort.
absolutely. I mean, Andy and I were literally sitting with the calendar and trying to figure it out the day they come back for them to sign docs, like the very next day. And like we planned this all out. So
Excellent.
it matters.
I bet you did. Congratulations to you both. Raha.
Hello again. So common misconception is the number. Yes. Is I'm gonna show something on here. so it
Yeah,
might
it's okay,
cover.
but we'll get you
The
right.
shining
They
person.
just can't see.
No worries. I just want them to look at the
There you go.
screen. So again, a common misconception is the number sequence for an addendum. So each line of forms have their own number sequence, right? So let's say you have an addendum here. If we look at the first, thank you. If we look at this first screenshot, we see that it's addendum number 1, and it's an addendum to the TDS, right? Transfer disclosure statement. There's a sump pump in the rear yard for drainage. This is something that the seller wanted to disclose, so this is an addendum to that form. Then you have an addendum to the RPA, right? You can't see it now, but it's just, yeah. So these are both number 1. Why? Because it's an addendum to a certain form. The misconception is that we already have an addendum 1. Then like for the request for repair, we can sometimes see that there's an addendum 3. And then we wonder where's number 1 and 2, because that's, they all go together. So each line of forms have their own number sequence.
The way I look at it is in like a flow chart, right? You have the RPA in the center, right? That's the agreed, and the RPA, and then attached are subsequent counter offers, right? And they're all attached, and they all alter the terms of the agreement. And then addendums are kind of on the outside of that linear piece,
Well,
right?
it's an addition
To whatever document that is,
Exactly.
if it's the RP, an addendum to the RPA, or an addendum to disclosures, or addendum to request for repairs, or
Right.
it's still, there's a first one for each of those. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
And if by chance, let's say you have 2 addendum 1s to the RPA, you just have to, if you make any changes, make sure that everybody initials at the top if you change it to 2, for example. Does that make sense?
So 2 is coming after 1.
She's saying
in
if
the
you
same
make a
line.
mistake, if
Oh,
you make a mistake,
Okay.
then make sure that they initial that correction.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear that, of course. Thank you. Christina, being that other half of my brain. Does that make sense to anybody? Anybody have any
Does that make
questions?
sense?
Erin?
So I see a lot of forms that are like 1, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
If I'm creating a template, should I include all of the numbers or just one? Or just
No, in terms of a template, if you're looking at, for example, the RPA, a good template would be just to start with that. You never know what they're going to counter. And also it's the same for the counters. Let's say you have a seller multiple counter offer number 1, then you receive a buyer counter offer number 1, and then you're going to do a single seller counter, then that's 1 again, because that's the first single seller counter offer.
because it's a different piece.
And each property is different depending on how you negotiate. So it's template wise, it would just
I
be as
just
you
wanted
go.
to make sure that I'm not just submitting like the first page of something when I need all 3 or something.
Usually when in car forms, when you put together the offer, all of everything that you need is there. If there's anything in addition, for example, if it's a probate, there are additional forms that you will need to add that aren't automatically added. But we have checklists for those.
Yeah.
You can always take a look to see, make sure you have everything signed by your client. But for template wise, start with the RPA, it's always good too. And then as you go, it'll be different for each time.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Haley, how you doing today?
Doing good. Today I wanted to talk about the LA County e-notification program. And this is available through the LA County Assessor's website. And homeowners who own a property in LA County are able to register for a free account with just their email and phone number. And they're going to be alerted anytime a foreclosure, transfer of title, or mortgage is recorded on their property. And I think this is a really great topic to utilize when you're door knocking owner occupied properties, or it's also a great excuse to reach back out to clients you've previously done business with to make them aware of this and encourage them to sign up. And we have a really nice flyer that walks them step by step on how to register on the LA County website. And it also includes the link to the website as well. So if you guys would like to have a copy of this flyer, or if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email is up on the screen. Thank you.
Haley, you also send that over to Ethan and he'll send out that form or that flyer with the Ops meeting.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Thanks, Haley.
Joey, can I piggyback on this?
You absolutely can, Rich.
Thank you. This is a great resource that the LA Assessor's Office is providing in that I've mentioned previously about vacant lots, the scam that's going around that, fully paid for vacant lots, that they're being listed and they're, trying to be sold out from under the true owners. This will give those owners an alert that their property was put on the market. And it's not only, I was on a broker call with other brokers in the state on Friday, and it's not only vacant lots anymore, it's expanding to vacant properties. Possibly, I had an agent, a victim of this, who it was in probate. And while it was in probate, somebody contacted one of my agents to list it. And obviously we didn't have the right to list it because this person really didn't own it. So it's expanded to vacant properties. There was a story of somebody in Hidden Hills, large property. They were on vacation, and while they were on vacation, the house was sold out from under them. So it's rampant. And we were also, the discussion was scams to our senior citizens, people knocking on their doors and saying they're from the IRS and they're going to be foreclosed upon, or there's this big tax lien on their house, and or they're from the mortgage company and they're behind in their mortgage, and unfortunately some people fall victim to this scam. So just be aware that's going on also out there.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks again, Haley. Duncan, are you on today?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So just didn't have much to say today other than I appreciate everyone's support. It's been a very busy month for us. And of course, you guys are part of that. So we do appreciate your business. Do know that, I'm available to support you guys at your open houses and things like that. So please contact me if you're going to have an open house. Would love to stop by and see it and see how I can help with certain things. And also, in terms of claims, just make sure to prep your clients. It is a very busy time of year, especially if it has to do with HVAC or anything to do with that system. Obviously, contractors are very backed up. So the more information you share with your clients ahead of time, the more expectations you set, the better it'll go. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, always call me when you're writing us in the contract to figure out the amount you should be writing. I recently had an agent that's put some add-ons on like the roof coverage and roof leak and a couple different add-ons, and it ran a little bit over her contract amount, just about $20. And she wanted a concession for that, and unfortunately, we cannot make concessions or change prices. They are all set across the board. We don't have any control or say over that. And obviously, we are competitive with all the other big home warranty companies out there. And remember, our service trade call fee is less than the other companies as well as of now. So do call me when you're writing up a contract so I can guide you on how much to write in for home warranty so we can get the maximum amount needed for your client's home. Because every home is different and it has different systems. So I would love to guide you guys when I can. And that's it.
Yep. Thanks, Duncan.
No worries.
Fun.
You too.
Agent happenings, birthdays. Alexandra Pugachev is today. I'll have to text her. Andre Perkins, Crystal, and Sophia Wilson all have birthdays tomorrow. Sophia was here yesterday. Insure, Doncher's brother on the 3rd, and Kina, who just started with us, his birthday on the 3rd also. We have some closings this week. We have Tiffany and Rachel on Sunny Slope. Gerardo, congratulations, bud. Charles Ryan closed just yesterday. Jacqueline Jantz and Christina Kim has 2 in there. Congratulations on this Regan real estate there. New escrows, Maury and Laura on Nielsen, Pete Bonacore on Talmadge, Heidi Davis on Carmona, Woodward team on Acampo, Brian Brown and the Woodward team on Spalding. Also Rachel Biggio on, how do you say that? Latilia? I'll go with that. Caitlin Penna on Village Center and Paul and Alan on Beach Boulevard. Congratulations on those new escrows. Also some closed referrals. Lena closed a referral I think that means in Los Angeles. So she referred something to someone in Los Angeles for referral. Congratulations on closed leases, which we have a ton of. Vaughn has 3, Bates Hennington and Village Green, Peter and Myron. Connor, congratulations, bud. Also Tim Meinelschmidt, congratulations. Alex Dion, Christina and Phoebe on Virgil. Congratulations, Phoebe. I know you're on there. She's on the call, right? I know she's on there. There you go. Pump it up. There you go. New listings. Let's see. We got Russell, Roney, and On have a property in the Barker block, I would assume, on Hewitt. That's a studio, 1 bath, 740 square feet for $549,000. You could live downtown in a loft type setting, right? What's that? Russell Roney and Antron. Let's go. Pete has a property on Hope, 1 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,300 and let's call it 1,400 square feet for $688. That looks nice. I like that little arboretum type outdoor space there. Come on. Oh, that's it. Yep. All right. Just want to make sure. Leases, sublease. Christina, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, it's a building in the ride, the curves, curve
Uh-huh.
on Wilshire.
Yep.
And it's sublease, the term is negotiable, price negotiable.
How many months?
We're looking at least 3.
3 months left on the lease. Okay. Could be a good short-term lease. DeYoung Kerr has a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,365 square feet for $550 also, or 5,500, I should say. Christina Kim, 2 bedroom, 2 bath on Virgil. Anything special?
Northview comes with 2 parking. It's a condominium, so, it's obviously better built, and it's right off of Virgil and Fifth.
All right. Also Tiffany Chin on 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 2,200 on Granada. One of Tiffany's properties, I'm pretty sure. Jacqueline Jantz, not here today, but she has a 2-bedroom, 1-bath on Hillcrest, 900 square feet for $2,900. Angela Bond has a Sierra Bonita, 5-bedroom, 5-bath, 3,748. Oh, that's huge for 15,000. That's a house, right?
Yeah.
30. Sharon Postomsky on Camarillo has a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 650 square feet for $2,250. Steve Senegram has a 3-bedroom. We have a lot of leases. Apparently. Oh, that is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,760 square feet for $6,000. Full house. And income properties. Day Park on Portland Street has a 2-unit building, a duplex, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. I would assume that's a 2. They're both 2-in-1s, is my guess, for $1.450. That looks to be the back of the property, I would say, right? My guess, or an on front. And there we go. Pocket listings coming soon. Who wants to share? Christina.
So those 2 listings that, those 2 properties that I closed escrow on, both of them are 4-unit income properties. So they're in Frogtown. And so I've got like mixed use. I got mixed specs. I've got a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. I've got a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I've got a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and I've got 6 units of them. So available immediately for move-in. So if you've got clients looking in Frogtown, then come talk to me. I'll give you guys early access. We are going live on them today. And it's in prime location. There isn't a whole lot available over there. So hopefully you guys have some people come talk to me. Okay?
Frogtown's popping right now, right?
Yeah.
Who else? Pocket listings coming soon. Anybody else?
Oh, no, I have a question.
Oh.
But I'll.
Offline. There you go. Anybody else? Hey, Rich, did you have any, before we go on to the next part, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about today?
No, that actually was in it about the scams that are going on. So great.
All right, perfect. All right, let's where's Ethan? Oh, yeah, let's I was trying to decide whether to go over the market updates, but there's a nice group here and a nice group online, and let's go over it. Unfortunately, Pete couldn't do it today. He had to bag out last minute, but Adam on? Adam Pergaman was going to get on, and Andy's on. We're going to go over the numbers, Andy, so jump in. Rich, also you, everybody jump in. This is a conversation. So first, the way this breaks down is, and Charlotte and Christina were both here for the conversation. So you guys jump into this also with the slides, right? U.S. economy. All right, here's the gross domestic product. Here, if we're looking, can we lose that bottom? There's the integral information there, right? There you go. Perfect. Yeah, as you can see, here's where we are now in 2023. We're at a 1, and that's projected through the rest of the year. Pretty low. You can't see.
Why don't you move over there?
I'm gonna have to get in front of it.
Just move over here, Sean.
If you like, yeah.
Can't you just
Could you
sit
sit over
here?
there? That's what I'm asking you to do. So here you go. I'm gonna the gross domestic product for the year is projected at around 1, right? And you see where it's been since we've been down below. Let's see, what's this? 2007 is right before the crash, really. And you see here's where it fell off the cliff right there. 2.6, it dropped. Again, here, this is during COVID, right, where it dropped again. And so, we're recovering. I think we want to be around 2 is where the sweet spot is. 5.7 was the response from COVID right here. We saw where COVID, everybody went shopping with all the money they saved while they were in lockdown. All right, so the gross domestic I can't do it. Is that good? There we go. Here's a quarterly. You see it breaking down into the quarters. Let me say, I'm sorry.
Take it off the screen.
Ethan will work that out. Well, again, we see, you know, in more, more focused, here we go. Perfect. Thank you. In a more focused view here, the last 2 quarters, the first 2 quarters of the year, are 2 and 2.4. They're just not projecting any relief for the rest of the year. That's why it's been projected that for the year it'll be around 1 blended.
Right, but when you look at the GDP on the quarterly versus the annual, you see that the fall off recently is not as severe because you had growth again from the first quarter into the second quarter, and they're concerned with it just leveling a bit. When you look at it on an annual basis, it looks a little scarier, like it's falling off, but it looks like it's been relatively, you know, stabilizing somewhat. So don't over jump at the previous slide that everything's falling off a cliff.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. All right. Recession probability, right? I mean, look at historically from 1960. You know, you pop it up in the 80s and early 90s. There was or early 80s. There was an issue, and then here we are in 2022 with recession probability being high, 75%. No one wants to call it a recession, right? But apparently we've been in a recession, right? Is that pretty much the consensus?
You need 2 quarters of negative growth.
Right, which we've had, right?
No.
No, haven't had 2 in a row yet?
No, go back to the quarterly and you'll see that it went from 2 something to 2.4.
Right, this would be
So the recession was the end of last year.
2022, yeah.
Yeah, so all the talk at the end of last year when it went from 3.2 to 2.6, that's what they were calling, and then it dropped to 2.0, but it kind of bounced back already.
Got it. Yeah. Yep. All right. Consumer sentiment is at not an all-time low as it was in July of 22, but 64% there. Let's try and move this up a little bit. There we go. All right. Let's see. What are the metrics for that? For consumer sentiment, Andy or Adam, what are the metrics that they use for consumer sentiment? Is it just a blending of a bunch of different metrics that they use?
I don't know. Maybe Andy does. I think it has to do with someone that they talk about large purchases, right? Or certain types of purchases, whether people feel like they'll spend money in the next month or 2 or something like that.
Spending trends.
Yeah, I think it's a collection of all kinds of consumer products and spending, and you look at company earnings and things like that, and where sales are for certain products, and yeah, I mean cars for instance are a pretty decent measure, and they've taken a pretty I guess taken a pause. I mean from where they were. I mean it sounds funny, but you know, in 2020, during COVID, during the lockdown, car sales shot through the roof. Nobody was going anywhere, and car sales were off the charts. So I think it's a collection of a lot of things on consumer sentiment.
Great, thanks, guys. Unemployment is at an all-time low, as we see 3.6 here.
I mean, the tough part, I sound like a broken record and I apologize, but the tough part with these unemployment numbers is that there's a lot of data that isn't talked about and can certainly skew this. If a large portion of new job creations are part-time workers, that's a big difference between full-time workers, right? Or seasonal workers, or you know the numbers in terms of companies downsizing or moving folks from one position to a lower paying position aren't reflected in here. So it's tough to tough to hang your hat on, and it's tough to gauge, right?
Well, as it being an accurate number depicting the actual unemployment numbers. But it, just for the sake of this, the same metrics has been used since the 90s, right? And so this number, although it's comparing itself to itself, is not accurate, not an accurate unemployment number, but it is a consistent gauge using the same variables over time. So I agree with you. It's if this is all they're looking at, then it's not a true picture, but it is a consistent picture over time of the same, using the same metrics. Is that true or is that not true?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other part of it too, I know I'd mentioned this several months ago. In terms of job creations, if a company's posting one position nationwide in 50 states, it's being measured as 50 job creations, even though it's one position, but it's being marketed in 50 states, right? So there, and the data too, I talked about this last week. The jobs numbers are always revised several months later. So if they're making decisions now based on the data that's coming out now, even though there are always revisions down the road, it's a little bit of a tail chase.
Yeah, get it. All right, but it's still a good number, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's just not an accurate number is the problem. Let's look at unemployment monthly, and you can see that very little fluctuation in those monthly numbers. All right, unemployment job openings, so push that up just a little bit, because the job openings is in the millions right here. These are the job openings in gold, and the unemployed people in the millions in blue. Look at that spike. So more jobs, more job openings than people looking for them.
Insane, considering the amount of money that's been spent in May of 2022.
This is
2020. That's
2020. This is
height of
2020.
COVID. No, I'm saying, but
this is when COVID fell off the.
Right, but there was so much money being spent in May of 2020.
Yeah, but people weren't going to work.
Yeah, but they weren't.
They were
But they're not
collecting
there
unemployment. They were not working. And it recovered dramatically quickly too.
No.
Right? This is January 2020, January 2021, January 2022. So you get a quick recovery. Again, we have more jobs than people who want jobs, apparently, by millions. Inflation numbers. Here we start to get into the CPI Andy talks about, which includes energy and food, and the core CPI, which excludes energy and food. That is the yellow here and the blue here, and then the target line, which is 2%. And we're 2.3%. That's pretty much, we're doing okay. And here we are in 2020, we were at 6.4, and so we're getting closer, inching closer to a level market.
Can I also just quickly say something about
Sure.
that? Because everybody who's not old, thinks that these interest rates are crazy, and compared to the prices now versus then, yeah, the monthly payment is dramatically more. But if you look at that on the left in the early 90s, interest rates then were 9-10% for mortgages. Right, but this chart doesn't go back that far.
Yeah.
So you're looking at these inflation
In
numbers.
relationship to the inflation numbers.
Yeah, and then, so where we're at now is still significantly lower than where it was then, and that was perfectly normal back then. Things didn't start getting weird until like the early, kind of early 2000s. Yeah.
The big difference is scale too, though. in the early 80s, you could buy a house for
Well, no, that was what I
$50,000.
initially
You know,
said.
and
I mean,
having
like the
20%
first
on
place
50,000 goes
yeah,
to
the first
20%.
place I bought at 9.2% cost $110,000. You know, that
Yeah.
apartment is now $800,000. So, you know, I get that. It's just, I'm just saying in perspective of rates.
And here's another look at the inflation numbers on a monthly basis from January 2019 to today. 3.2, what happened there too? But and this is projection where we're going to end the year at 2.3, right? That's the projection. We're now actually at 3.2.
But these are national numbers.
These are not, yeah, of course, yeah.
Well, especially
No.
for our city.
And there's different inflation rates and consumer price indices. Like there's not just one, so just be aware of that. Some include discretionary spending and consumable food, and some take like automobiles or housing out of their numbers, some put them in their numbers. So there's different sort of numbers to look at, and they vary quite a bit. You know, the difference, you know, between 3% and 2% is still a 30% difference. It's significant. So always, when you read the numbers, read them relative to the, I guess, the relative ratio of percentages, because they'll often, the headlines are sensationalized. They'll talk about 30% change in something, but you might go, does it really matter to me if the cost of eggs go up from 2% more to 3% more? Is that going to change? That 1%, depending on what the item is, matters more. You know, like I think traditionally in housing, the average home appreciated, and Andy might know these numbers better, but like kind of like 1.5%, 1% a year. So when housing started to move up at 3 and 4% a year, is actually a big amount. And during COVID, the housing pricing and automobile pricing shot up by like 15% or something like 12 or 15% in an annualized basis. Which
we're going to see. There's a chart here that we'll see that the average is supposed to be 4% year over year, right, of growth in the average growth of valuation, and you'll see where we are. But I thought this was interesting. Is that okay? That's all the numbers behind it, right? But how's it playing out in the consumer environment? Look at this spike. This is Google searches over time, right? From July of 2004 to 23. Look at the searches. How they, 80. What is that? 80 million searches. It started to peak out in like 2022. They started to, people started to really be curious about what does inflation really mean, right? And inflation. Here's the list of inflation items with falling prices. Look at the top. Health insurance, that can't be right.
Yeah, we'll
The
see.
cost of health insurance fell 25%. With inflation, public transportation, car and truck rentals, computers and smartphones. I can imagine that. Used cars and trucks, video and audio products, educational books and supplies, furniture and bedding, appliances, recreational reading materials, footwear, sporting goods, and other household goods. These are items that are falling with falling prices. Maybe we live in a little bit of a bubble here.
Yeah, but if you run a search, like if you look in the search, anyone run a Google search in the past few weeks, past month, you'll see there's a bunch of articles about how sneakers are a great buy right now because the price of them is apparently dropping precipitously. But when you look at this chart, which is probably a little older in data, and looking at a longer run, it's showing that it's only down 1%. So you've got to kind of drill down a little bit more on some of it because some of this data doesn't reflect what the articles are that are being written currently.
Yeah, I mean, this is Margaret, the copyright. Oh, yeah, it doesn't sell what the research is.
Well, I think it's also just,
Bureau of Labor and Statistics is the where this come from. What do you got?
I mean, I think the reality is that we're finally coming out of the COVID disaster, the manufacturing delays and the complete pause of everything in terms of those goods, you know, on your last slide and even this current slide. Naturally prices are coming down, right? Like manufacturing and shipping and all of those things are finally back to normal. So
yep. Well, here's the rising side. Motor vehicle insurance, motor insurance across the board, I think, is out of control. Motor vehicle, especially in California, with all the insurers leaving the state, right? Motor vehicle maintenance and repair, leased car rentals. Cars, the first three, and to your point, where that's where people indulged during COVID. You know, people were just buying cars and affected the car market in a really weird way with distribution channels. There you go.
Well, there was a problem in supply of cars. The supply fell off and interest rates collapsed. So cars and housing kind of went hand in hand in terms of you know, inflated prices.
And how does all of that affect us? Here we go. Canadian market, we'll skip over. Is this Canadian market numbers now? Sure. Right, numbers, right? Home sales annual. Just want to make sure that National Association of Realtors, okay. Home sales annually.
Yeah, and just a note on this too, if you look at this chart, you see how toward the right between 2020 and 2023, it dropped from 6.1 to 4.3, which is a third of six. But the way that the bar graph is done, it doesn't look like a third. It looks closer to a quarter where the yellow dotted line is. So it's sometimes these charts are a little skewed visually to really what the numbers are.
So, all right, there we go. Total annual single-family home sales in millions, 4.3 million is projected this year, opposed to even the last year, which was a drop-off, was 5 million houses sold, right? And then at the peak here, you know, prior to the collapse here, was 7.1 million. So, you know, it's definitely low inventory. And low units sold, but of course, I think that next is the, you know, oh, here's the monthly. But what we're going to see is the cost of houses are still rising. So volume is making up for the lack of units sold. And you know, on the high side of that is, you know, you as agents get paid on volume, right? You might not be selling as many houses, but the volume's good. Could fill the gap in the lack of units sold. All right.
Yeah, and I think inventory is still down, like significantly.
Absolutely. Yep. You can see here home sales monthly, you know, how they dropped off. Even January, 6.4, January of last year.
So there's very little new housing that's coming on the market. That's, I think, also putting a huge impact as well. I can't find a new construction.
Yeah, there's data on the build to rent market. It was just on the John Burns put it out in their research, saying that in the years from like 99 to 2019, over almost a 20-year run, they would build about 29% of total single families were built to rent of new construction. Today, in the last year, 2021 to 2022, it's 43%. So then the inventory is not coming even from new construction, you know, so.
Well, I think there's another piece of that too. There's new household creations too.
Right. There's Gen Z, Y, which are millennials, whatever they are.
And builders in a lot of cases, new builds in particular are sold before they're even started. So.
Yeah, there was another data thing too. If you look at it for new construction start, I haven't read much recently, but for a few years, a lot of guys were writing about how after 2008 and the crash, the number of new construction started was so low relative to the size of the entry level buyers. And that just still hasn't recovered, even though it's like 15 years later, that housing stock just simply hasn't been built. And like, they don't think there's a way to make that up for like another decade in terms of enough housing to.
In our neighborhood. But, well, they shifted in our market, they shifted to building rental properties, right? I mean, downtown LA is a prime example of that, right? Once they established a home buyer, they built all of these new construction and adapted reuse for condominiums, right? They created a solid market of people living downtown with those, and then they focus once they establish that and all the infrastructure that goes along with the people who own properties, then they came in and they built a bunch of rentals because they can make a lot more money off of rentals, right? And so
yeah, they converted some of those projects to rental, so there was less. But the new condo buildings downtown don't fall in the new start development numbers. The new start development numbers are strictly, I think, single family housing on a nationwide basis. Yeah, they don't include condos in that.
I didn't even know that. All right, thanks, Adam. All right, let's look at this slide because this is the one of the really telling slides here, right? This is that 4% growth line. This blue one here, long term, 4% over time since 1990, even before they recorded before that. What's that?
Only for those of us that can remember, it was before recorded history.
Yeah, 1990. They were recording before that, but that trend line also is 4%. So, but we start from the 90s here, to Adam's point, to create a dramatic understanding of the last 33 years, right? And in that you see 4%. This is the line. This is what they say it should be, right? Year over year. You see, we popped up here in 2006, and and we're 21% over the trend. We're only 7% over the trend now. Only 7%. And if this year goes as planned, which is flat, right? Little to no growth, then we'll only be 3% next year over the trend. So it's really in alignment with this trend line of 4% growth over time. The annual, this is for the median house, right? Does that make sense to people? This, I think, is a really compelling illustration for your clients when they talk about, am I overpaying? Should I not be buying? This is a value. This is what they're looking at over time, over long lengths of time.
But prices drop.
Prices drop since 22? Absolutely not. Prices, this is the growth line, right? This is where we are. So we're at $382,000 is the average, is the median home price, opposed to 222,000 is the median home price.
Yes.
386, yeah. So yeah, it did drop $4,000. The median dropped 4,000. Yeah. Yep. Well, and this is projected also. Oh, and they're saying 357, which is even lower.
Oh, great.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let me take this back. The line is 357. Okay. The projected for the end of the year is 382, which is 4,000 lower. And that's why I'm saying if this year is flat, $4,000 does not move the needle in a full percentage. But if it's just flat, then next year we start only 3% over because we're accounting for that 4% growth here. So does that make sense? Yep.
And these are national numbers, so obviously our market's going to be a little bit different. But when you have a buyer who's saying, oh, COVID was an anomaly and the prices went crazy and I'm waiting for them to come back down to pre-COVID pricing, this is a really useful tool to show that it's probably not going to happen. And as long as they plan on staying in their house for a reasonable amount of time, it's still worthwhile for them to buy something.
Yeah, pre-COVID 2019, right?
Oh, I had a client in 2019 telling me his business manager was saying prices were going to drop 20%. I had dinner with him on Sunday. He just hung his head.
Yeah.
He didn't buy anything.
Maybe it's crystal ball.
Where can we access these slides?
KW Connect, you download them.
Yeah, I had a buyer looking for something a year and a half ago or something, and when rates were down, and now they're looking at houses $1 million less or more than what they were looking at because they can't afford the mortgage.
So the cost of money?
Because the cost of money changed their equation tremendously.
Yeah. Their personal economics may not have changed, but their leverage has changed outside. You see, this is year
and the inventory shrank as well.
Yes, of course.
I had clients that wrote an offer. We were in escrow 2 months ago, and they were with City Private, who Andy's talking about. You know, there's certain people that just get these great rates, and they decided not to buy the property. We looked at a property yesterday and wrote an offer $100,000 less than the one they were in escrow on, but because of the rate difference, their payment is going to be $600-700 a month more, just in 2 months.
Yeah. It's the reality. That's the reality of the moment, right? I've seen some mass schedules showing, you know, when you blend it over time, you know, we're going to assert that the rates will come down and they'll refinance in a year or so.
But their compelling argument is everybody else experienced that too. So maybe that house 2 months ago was worth $50,000 more than it is today for that type of buyer. You know, we'll see what happens.
You know, the one thing different about this market than 2008. In 2008, you know, the stock market was still doing good, even when the home market went, you know, in the gutter, right?
I wouldn't know. I had property in Vegas.
Well, there you go. And my point being is that that people came out of the woodwork with bags of cash. They cashed out on their high earning stocks, and they came in with bags of cash to take advantage of the opportunity of that moment. We're in this moment. Number one is there's no inventory. There was a glut of inventory in REOs and the such, and short sales and the such. In that moment, there's no inventory, and people don't want to take their money out of the stock market. So you know, they're still dependent on lenders. Andy, are you talking to us, or I can't tell? So they're still dependent on lenders. Lenders want to lend, but they just, you know, the cost of money is really, really high. So as is the conundrum. Not a big shift year over year in monthly. And then inventory, 3.1% nationally, is actually in June. Look at that. That's actually a high compared to last year. Look at the inventory was even much worse. Bam. So it looks like inventory is growing a little bit. What's that?
These numbers are insane. Do you guys realize that a balanced market is 6 months of inventory?
Balance, where the seller has no advantage over the buyer, and it's just the balance. That's what the goal is. So we haven't, you know, it doesn't stay there for long. It usually goes in one direction.
Does it ever get there in LA?
Well, in LA, I vaguely do remember it being a buyer's market. Well, 2008, it was kind of a buyer's market, right?
I don't know. I wasn't.
Yeah, it was. You
I
were a
wasn't
seller, and you know it was.
That was Vegas.
Right, there you go. New home starts. Oh, that's true. To Adam's point, here's the look at the building is 900,000. I think that is thousands, right?
Yeah, if you go all the way back to 08, you see how the building starts fell off. Yeah. And they've just been under the average that they need for a really long time. like 14 years. So that new home construction just doesn't exist across the country. And in LA, it's impossible. Like, you know, Porter Ranch or some of these other places where they were able to build lots of houses. But in Los Angeles, in the city, there's nowhere you can increase supply. It's not possible.
There's nowhere to build.
There's nowhere you can build a large amount of tract homes, you know, in anywhere that can get approved in any timely fashion to make a dent in the housing supply.
Do you think, Adam, that this is a developer making money reason, or do you think across the board it's just a lack of space, sort of like what we're dealing with in LA?
I think it's a NIMBY zoning issue, California, hillside, you know, restrictions. Look, you could clearly divide up large parts of the hills off of Mulholland and parts of the Hollywood Hills and build a bunch of houses up there, but you can never get that done.
Yeah, no, I understand that in LA. I'm just curious what your thought was nationally. Is it because the developers aren't building because they can't make money, or does the rest of the country have the same issue with the availability?
What I read was that most new housing was built by small contractors. It was GCs that knew how to build. They weren't, you know, highly capitalized. And they would build, you know, anywhere from a handful of units to maybe 20, 30 houses at a time in these subdivisions. And that's how they kind of made their bulk of their money. And a lot of these guys got wiped out in 08, 09, and they lost their land, they lost the property, they lost their businesses, and they just never got back into spec building. So it consolidated heavily amongst larger and regional builders that, you know, have a much more controlled way of building, you know, like for instance, when small lots were approved in the city of LA, Lennar was one of the first builders, you know, the biggest builders in the country to get in and build, and they would build 40 small lots. They're gone. They don't build small lots anymore in LA. They did a handful of projects. They built a bunch of small lots, and now they're gone because the numbers don't work. They can't get the parcels of land that are big enough, and the margins don't work for them anymore. So now it's all smaller builders again. So that's kind of what wiped out the supply in new construction that was really needed across the country. It's just two different business models from the big builders versus the smaller builders.
Agreed. All right, let's new home sales and builders confidence. Here we see again, you know, projected new single family home sales in thousands for new homes, 750,000. And here's you said builders confidence. Again, cost of goods, cost of labor in our particular market, it makes it prohibitive to and accessibility to large enough swaths of land make it very, very difficult in our particular market. But even across the country, where most of this takes place, there's plenty of land, but still the cost of building supplies and labor make it prohibitive. That being said, up from December of 2022, from 31 to 56, whatever that metrics is. Mortgage rates, here you go. Here you go, the historical, let's see the line. What's this say here? This, you know, we say this all. These are the annual mortgage rates in Schmerple here, and then the historical average from 72 to 71 here in gold. This is the historical average. Look how many years we've been below the historical average. And then the historical average from 90 to 21 is this blue line here, which we are above. The historical average is 5.97. We're 6.60 is what the projection is for the end of the year. let's just call it 7, you know, we're a point or so above the historical average from 90, which I think this is a more relevant kind of guideline or metrics because of just the value, well, the value of properties, right? I mean,
And-
just it, and you can't really, in relationship to the, you know, having a 7.81 on a $3 million house in 1972 is different than, you know, that same house in is like a $20 million house here in 2023.
And Andy, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I'm sure Movement looks at some numbers that if mortgage rates drop from the non-bank banks to under 6%, they're probably predicting a little push in home prices going back up, you know, once it gets under 6 again, I would think.
Well, you have that go ahead, Andy, what were you saying? Oh, Andy didn't hear you, I think. Well, here you have that lag too, Adam. It's of course the valuation is going to go up because when those mortgage rates come down below 6, then people are going to see their buying power surge, right? And they're going to be like, oh, let me get on this lower interest rate relative to what it was, and then, you know, sellers also, they're coming to the realization that they hit the top of the market, or they may have even missed the top of the market. So in that, you know, the confluence of those two things, lower interest rates, which, you know, kind of give buyers some greater buyer power, and then sellers, you know, who want to take advantage of the top of the market. I think you're absolutely right, and you're gonna, you know, anticipate a surge, or at least a temporary surge in valuations of properties based on that.
Yeah, I that's what I think could happen. So, you know, the buyers that are on the fence, if they don't pull the trigger soon and rates go down, the prices are going to go up.
Yep.
Well, and you know, I think sorry, I was on a call with the CPA. You know, all of a sudden we're sort of back in a position where we were in 2021. And if we remove out the COVID situation and you throw in lower interest rates and still a shortage of inventory, naturally with sheer supply and demand, values continue to go up. I mean, everything I'm saying is in multiple offers.
Yep. Agreed.
In all price points, Andy?
I would say so. Yeah.
Well,
I'm not.
opposed to you know, like over 5 and 10, over 5 million.
I just made an offer 50,000 under asking for a property that had no offers on it. It's only been on the market 16 days.
What price point?
134.
Yeah, that's a bad agent somewhere.
What neighborhood? Curious.
Encino.
Encino, 134. But the assertion is that
Priced fairly, they just had no offers, so figured what the hell, see what happens.
Yeah. Good.
Accepted it.
I don't know, waiting.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I'm seeing some.
But I thought 16 days and no offers at a fairly priced property, that was surprised me.
And yeah, could be just slipped under the radar. I mean, there's a million reasons. But, you know, you're seeing it as of value. Maybe the locals don't see it as of value. You know, bringing somebody in from out of the area is a great way to sell a slightly overpriced property sometimes.
It's not over. It wasn't overpriced.
Yeah. Right. Well,
Really not.
you got the bargain at Centric.
We'll see if we get it.
There you go. Mortgage rates. There you go. We did that. Affordability is you know, usually 27%. We're at 29%. It's you know, it's getting there, right? We're close. Say that one more time. Housing especially. Yeah, this is for housing.
These are national numbers too, so Ohio is included.
Ohio is included. Yes, it is. Yeah, yes, this is a blended number. So, you know,
I'm just fascinated by the fact that you can buy a house in Ohio for $125,000 and rent it out for $1,500. Like, I feel like we should all be buying
Let's go.
houses in Ohio.
You're in Ohio, Cincinnati, Toledo. Let's go. All right, mortgage universe. Here you go. 89% of mortgages have rates of 5% or less. 89% of mortgages have rates of 5% or less. Wow. Wow. So, you know, it just, you know, people are locked in to those low rates.
Let me just stack on this though, because yes, low rates, a low mortgage rate. I mean, listen, I'm part of it. Everything I own is under 3%. Really lucky, really grateful. By the same token though, if we're talking about prospecting and talking to sellers and so forth, there is more consumer debt out there than there ever has been. If we're talking about a blended rate between, let's say, a 3.25% mortgage rate and a 24% credit card rate, if somebody on average has, let's call it $50,000 in credit card debt, and they're sitting on this incredible mortgage rate, right? And everybody's sitting on this badge of honor because they have a 3% mortgage rate. If they have $50,000 or $100,000 in credit card debt, that interest rate means absolutely nothing. Somebody would be better off listing their property, taking some of the proceeds, paying off debt, buying a replacement property at a 7% interest rate, and save thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over not just the life of the loan, but just long term.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, when you have a $20,000 or a 24 or, you know, or higher in $24,000 or higher in credit card debt that you're paying, you know, like 28% on the money, it's crazy. Yep.
I have a calculator that can do that. If somebody's going out on a listing presentation or meeting with potential sellers, I think overall just game planning what their future goals are obviously is key, but asking that question, how much other debt do you have? Because you could, somebody could make an up move and move up in property, and in terms of financial planning and gaining financial wealth, that there's big opportunity there and potential there with paying off and getting out from underneath that high interest debt.
Agreed. Agreed. All right, let's see what else we got here. Size per agent, 5-point size. The average is 10 size historically. So volume, like NARAD's 550,000 agents, right? And now in 2008 to 2012, we shed 330,000 agents. As we had, you know, and look at the numbers, 13.5, and now we have 580,000. We recaptured all of those agents back plus from 2013 to 22, and thus bringing down the average per sides per agent from to 9.8%, right? But you're going to see a lot of agents falling out of the market, and so that number will be affected. Market volume per agent. Here's where the winner chicken dinner is. Look at that. You know, we're still over the national. I'm sorry. This blue line is the agent count, and so this is volume per agent in millions. Right? Is still, look, historically from 1999 is still pretty high. Pretty high. This is during COVID. This is the COVID surge, and then last year, 2022, and this is projected for this year, 1.44 million. All right, homeowners equity. Where's the opportunity? 87 million homeowners equal 1 million houses. Homeowners with equity, 61%.
These were the most, when we were at Mega Camp, these slides were the ones that I think were the most useful as talking to clients, because the ones that think they should wait to buy or that more inventory is going to become available. Because this is what's so dramatically different from the crash.
The next slide too. It's brutal. Yeah.
Read this, 87 million homeowners. Again, 39% owns outright. 31% has less than
Greater than
50% equity in their homes, and only 30% have less than 50% equity in their homes. 26 million people. Look at that. And so you have, what is that? 70% of the homeowners have greater than 50% equity and or outright own their property.
This means no short sales, no foreclosures.
That's why you're not seeing.
That's why you're not
REOs.
going to see that when you're talking to people who think there's going to be another crash, this is why there isn't.
It's not going to happen because all of these people have tons of equity in their house, and the bank is not going to take a house that has all that equity in it until they burn through that equity and it becomes upside down, right?
This is where the opportunity is. But if you can convince that 70% of homeowners to trade out and buy income property instead, and sort of spread their cost basis or their income out through multi-tenant, because that stuff is trading at a discount compared to,
Absolutely. Does everybody understand what Adam's saying? The opportunity in this pool is that people have money sitting in their homes that is not working for them. They have equity in their homes that is not doing anything but sitting there. Okay, and they could take out this money even at the rates of rates of lending today and buy something and add to their personal wealth, have their money start working for them. Here in Los Angeles, that there's such a multiplier of this. Like I bought my house for $629,000. I paid it down a few times. I took out home equity, did some work on the house. I'm about the same. I'm at about the same place. I owe about a $629 now, right? But the difference is my house is worth $2 million. So I have, like 1.4, $1.3 million worth of equity in my house that is just sitting there doing nothing, right? And to Adam's point, if we start having the conversations with our owners to leverage those monies into buying investment properties, then it helps them build wealth for the future and really starts to puts a multiplier on this equity growth piece, because then your investment property is growing equity too. Is that correct,
and if
Adam?
whether they sell it or pull out the equity and put it to work, that's sort of where that opportunity lies. There's so much stacked equity especially in the city of LA, and crazy amount of money just sitting there. And then there's an article, if you guys want to look for it, I don't have it offhand, but there's an article, if you look for peak population, it's a comparison of California to New York. When New York peaked in its population growth somewhere, I think in the mid 1900s or late 1990, 1980s, 1970s, somewhere in there. And they're starting to compare California to that scenario right now, where California population might reach its peak, where we are about now, somewhere around 41, 42 million, I think it's going to be. But to someone to really drill down and say, well, just because the state of New York peaked, it didn't affect the city of New York the same way as it did other parts of the state. And we might see a similar scenario here in California, where LA City continues to grow, even though the population of the state stagnates to sort of a flat amount of population, and how that'll affect some submarkets better than others.
Excellent. All right, guys, I'm actually going to end it here because it goes on to the next section. I think is really, really compelling, where it actually starts to illustrate, the points that Andy was trying to make about, taking debt and moving debt and the cost of certain kinds of debt opposed to mortgage debt, and how that you can create a really compelling conversation for your clients in looking at that. But that's a bigger conversation, and I want to save it for next week. So I think this was really great. Any questions or ahas about what we just went through? All of these slides are available on KW Connect, and we'll also have Ethan send them out in the recap. Yep.
I saw the 2022 version.
We'll send that.
Yeah. I don't think
Sometimes you have to dig for it. It's Mega Camp,
The state of the market.
Is the vision, is
Mega
the speech
Agent,
up yet?
MAC 23. State of the Market is what it's called.
So Gary's speech on the first day of Mega Camp, if it's up, goes through all of these too.
The video.
Yeah.
There's a video, you can watch the video too. Right? All right. So Adam, Andy, thank you. You guys, thank you for the patience. Hopefully don't despair. Focus on the opportunity, right? If you get nothing out of this today, other than this is an opportunity to have a conversation with your clients about leveraging their equity and creating wealth through this moment, right? Thank you. All right, so I think that we're going to wrap it up.
Also, just real quick, there's a significant uptick in COVID. Just be aware, be aware when you're in a crowded space.
Yeah. Just keep that making out with strangers to the minimum, right? And
Well, I wouldn't want to ruin anybody's fun.
don't bring hand sanitizer. All right. Thanks, you guys. We're going to wrap that up then. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.